Australia's highest court has rejected Clive Palmer's legal challenge against Western Australia's hard border. Emily Evans joins me live from Perth now. Emily, the Premier has called this decision a significant victory.
That's right, Gab. Mark McGowan says it's not only a victory for West Australians, but it's a victory for all Australians. The High Court has rejected Clive Palmer's case against WA's hard border. He was saying that it was unconstitutional, but the High Court has ruled that WA's emergency laws and border directions are valid. Mr Palmer has also been ruled to pay all of the court costs involved in this case. Now, this is the end of what's been a long-running saga between the billionaire and the state government. Mr Palmer was refused entry to WA from Queensland, which really was the spark for what has become this legal case. But it turns out it was actually revealed later on that Mr Palmer's entry forms were filled out incorrectly. Now, this case first went to the federal court, which heard from both state and Commonwealth witnesses. Those Commonwealth witnesses actually supported Mr Palmer's case. That created a bit of a rift between Mark McGowan and the federal government, who the Premier claimed was trying to bring the hard border down. The Commonwealth shortly afterwards withdrew from the case, and that caused the state to argue that a new hearing should be held, not involving the Commonwealth witnesses, but that was denied and the case did move to the High Court. The federal court, however, did rule that the strict border controls were the most effective way of keeping COVID-19 out of WA. Now, the Premier this morning said he is disappointed in both the state and federal Liberal parties, and he wants an explanation as to why they supported Clive Palmer.
They should have stood up to him, state and federal. So I look forward to their explanation now. They need to come out, state and federal, and explain why they backed Clive Palmer, because the High Court has shown Mr Palmer was wrong.
This is one of many legal actions Mr Palmer has taken out against the state. The Premier claims there are 8 other cases against WA, including a $30 billion damages claim by the billionaire over some of his mining ventures in Western Australia. Clive Palmer is also attempting to put together a claim of contempt of court by the Premier and the state's Attorney-General. The Attorney-General has asked Mr Palmer to stand down from that decision, saying it would cost West Australians millions.
It will cost the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars defending all of this nonsense. And I would sort of ask Mr Palmer to reconsider his position in view of the High Court proceedings this morning, not out of fear for myself or for the Premier, but out of concern that the taxpayers are going to spend a lot of money defending this.
This judgment has been delivered less than 2 weeks from when the hard border is due to be lifted from November 14. WA will reopen to very low-risk jurisdictions, which actually includes Queensland, as well as South Australia, Tasmania, the Northern Territory and the ACT. Travellers won't have to quarantine, and the requirement for an exemption will be removed. But Gab, this also means that from next Saturday, if you wanted to, Clive Palmer would be allowed in WA.
Emily, good news for those from Western Australia trying to get home before Christmas. Thank you for the update.